Welcome to No Fun Channel. I'm Felix, and this week I'm going to talk about something. I'm going to still have a lot of topics I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to start off with something a little on the downside, and that is grief. This week I lost my father, and I'm not here to talk about the death of my father, but just grief in general and dealing with it. I went through so many highs and lows, tears, so on and so forth. And it's really weird when someone close to you passes away and how we deal with it. And just for me, just for me watching the people around me, I found it interesting how each of us dealt with it differently. I had one uncle who really couldn't deal with it. Another uncle who was dealing with it but didn't want to deal with it. It was like a different level of it. And then another uncle who was dealing with it better than the others. But I noticed as long as he was talking, he was okay. It's like as long as he distracted himself. There was even an instance where a woman showed up and was crying out loud and hugging everyone. I wasn't in the mood to be hugged and have someone crying around me. So I kind of just snuck off and just went and kind of got off the way. But the reason I was thinking about that is because there are times where I'll see people grieving and other people will get mad at the way they're grieving. Like it's like, you can't grieve that way. It's like, who are you to tell someone how they can grieve? That's messed up. Let them grieve in their own way. Leave them alone. Unless they're hurting someone or hurting themselves, leave them alone. As long as it's not something that's outrageously inappropriate, just let them grieve. Everyone grieves differently. To try and force someone to grieve the way you do makes it wrong. You're not even concerned about grieving at that point. You're just concerned about the optics. And if you're more concerned about that, then you're not really dealing with the grief yourself. Even if it turns out you're not grieving at all and you're just there for the optics, then you're the problem and you need to go away. But also, another thing, dealing with my father's passing is all the stuff, having to go through his stuff. And, well, my mom and dad have been divorced for as long as I can remember. So we're going through all this stuff, just me and my sister and one of my uncles, and going through all this paperwork and trying to figure out if he had insurance. We don't believe he had a will. Trying to find all the bills, bank statements, things of that nature. It's a lot to go through. And we can't really do anything until we get a death certificate, which we haven't got yet. And so it's a lot. It can be overwhelming. I actually did film a different podcast, and I'm not going to use it now. But that podcast actually helped me a lot, and more than I realized. Because I filmed it, and I was all ready to post it, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to post this. I'm going to call my sister first. I talked to her, went over the details of it. Normally, I don't talk to anyone about my podcast. I just post what I got. That one, of course, was different, and I talked to my sister about it, told her everything I went over. And I think I called her really for her to tell me, no, don't post it. If I'm being real honest, I think I want her to just flat out say, no, don't post that. Because I'm not really about sharing a lot that much on here. But with this, I also saw an opportunity to point out some things that you may not think about when someone passes. One of the things that I still haven't done it. I wanted to go online and see if they actually had a checklist of things you should. I'm sure there is one. Because we're sitting here, I was sitting with my sister trying to figure out all the things we need to check, all the things we need to go through. And it's actually a lot more than you might think. You got funeral preparations, dealing with the ME, dealing with the morgue, dealing with... It's like, why does death have to be so complicated? Why is there so much bureaucracy on death? Government's always trying to find a way to put paperwork on everything. But yeah, it's a lot to deal with. So, but yeah, it's a lot more daunting than I thought it would be. I think that's the part that's got me too. A lot more stressful. But I mean, it's, of course, definitely stressful in a lot of ways. But just getting everything together, getting everything moved out of its place. Because when we were going through stuff, I suddenly realized he has furniture. None of us need furniture. So it's like, do we call the city, have them see if we can just leave it out there from the collect? Do we have to pay someone to come in and clean it out? Stuff like that. Our main goal really is just to go through all his papers, make sure there's nothing like Social Security number, things of that nature. And there's also like he's getting Social Security. I know there's like ways to transfer to Social Security. There's ways to Social Security death benefits. There's a few things with the government you can do for benefits. So there's all those little things, and I can see why people get overwhelmed. Sorry, I just thought, I wonder if there's a business that does all that stuff for you. But you have to be willing to trust the business to go through your family's stuff. So that'd be the hard thing. You have to build a business that has a very trustful reputation, and that probably wouldn't be that easy. But yeah, I just wanted to start off with that. Not to bring anyone down, but just the grieving, the stress, and getting preparations. It's a lot to deal with. And one of the things I realize is I've been extremely lucky when it comes to people passing away. The last time anyone passed away was before 9/11. It was long before 9/11. And since then, I haven't had anyone pass away. So it's been a couple decades. And so, yeah, so it did hit. And yeah. So I want to start off with that. I think I wanted to start off with that just to get it out of the way. But as for the rest of the week, I was working out. I worked out Monday and Tuesday. I was supposed to work out Wednesday. I was supposed to do 3 days in a row because my wife wasn't going to be able to make it the rest of the week. But come Wednesday, I had a migraine. And that migraine kicked my butt. And I don't know what happened. It was just a horrible migraine. And then it faded around the afternoon. Not the afternoon. It faded around, afternoon. Faded around, started to fade around 2 or 3 o'clock, but it just lingered. It was just lingering. And then probably by the time it actually went away, it was probably about 7 o'clock, which we could have still went to the gym, but at that point, I was actually wore out from the migraine. And it just felt just tiring. This migraine wore me out. But it's funny though, working out my wife, because originally I didn't want to work out my wife for a couple of reasons. One, she used to never be consistent. Technically, she's not being consistent right now. Before I started working out, but we were being consistent. And the thing is, when we missed our workout, she felt guilty for missing the workout. So I was like, good. Just, so we'll get going again next week. But I did get a workout in on Thursday. I had cleaned up a bunch of stuff, and that workout wore me out. And today, going to my dad's, working on his place, that was a workout in itself. So there was so I guess in a way, 2 days in a row working out, just being active. Of course, the second day, not how I wanted to be active, but life happens. But working out with my wife has been fun. It's been interesting and it's been good. And so I'm glad I decided to go and start working out with her. Now I am thinking about getting my own gym membership because there are days where she might not be able to go and I can just go by myself. There's nothing wrong with the old gym. I did go by myself all the time. So there's nothing wrong with going by myself. She was going by herself a lot of the times. So I can go up there and go by myself. Of course, the difference between me and her, I usually have a routine played out in my head. Like since we were going 3 days in a row, Monday we actually did full body. Tuesday we did legs. I mean, we killed it on the legs. And Wednesday we were supposed to do upper body, but we didn't get a chance to do it. I took today off, again, because of life happens. And later when we were done at my dad's, I was telling my sisters, like, I should tell my wife, let's go to the gym. But when I got home, after sitting and talking with my mom and sister, by the time I got home, I was stiff. My lower back was killing me. My hip was killing me. Like, okay, I think I got my workout. I even told my wife, like, I was going to come on and see if you want to go to the gym, but I'm sore. Like, I hurt. This sucks. And one of the main reasons I got into working out is because my health is going downhill. If I don't fix it, my kids will be without a dad. And that is a crappy feeling. So I am working on it. I'm trying to fix it. I'm now on diabetes medicine. Well, I'm not diabetic, but they put me on the medicine to keep me from going and being pre-diabetic. And they put me on a stronger blood. I'm taking 2 blood pressure medicines now. And the one they upped the dosage. I don't know if it's having any effect. Of course, that could be what gave me my migraine, actually. So there's that. And so, yeah, I'm trying to get in shape. It's slow going because I did gain back gain back 10 pounds of the 20 pounds I lost. And I think I've gone back and I lost 5 pounds of the 10 pounds I lost. So I'm working on it. I've been more cautious of what I eat. I think that's what happened. I got off track with my eating. And I didn't want to punish myself, so I just been doing what I was doing before. I was eating a lot of salads. The downside to the salads, I was getting the pre-made salads. And there's a lot of good pre-made salads. Problem is, they go bad. And it's hard to buy them for the week and not have one go bad. Sometimes I can make it all the way to Friday. Sometimes I can't. And I was also eating them for breakfast and lunch. So I was getting a lot of roughage in. So it was definitely cleaning me out. I find myself going to the bathroom a lot around lunchtime or after lunch. Like the salad was cleaning me out. And a lot of the salads I had really didn't have a lot of meat in them either. So basically I was eating vegetarian. I thought about going on a vegetarian diet, but I'm a big opponent of not doing diets because they're temporary. It's a temporary fix. And but you're doing the salads. I like salads, actually. I don't have a problem with salads. And like I said, I was getting some good ones, and they were really good, and I was tearing those up. And I ate one for dinner one time. Like, I'm going to eat my salad. It's like, you get the right salad or put the right salad together, and it's good. So if you are going to do a diet, pick foods you're going to eat. There's no point in doing a diet if you're not going to eat the food. And you got to be careful with the portion control too. Because the reason I was doing pre-made salads, when I used to make my own salads, I basically use a mixing bowl to make my salad in, a giant salad. That's overkill. So you got to be careful when you're changing your diet. And that's another thing. When people change their diet, they go to the extreme and they screw it up. So you just got to be careful. Don't go on an actual diet, but just change up what you're eating. If you're ordering the entire menu at McDonald's, order half the menu. Just cut back and reevaluate and rethink what you're doing. We have to work it out. It's coming along. Hopefully I can stick with it. My goal still is to get below. I would love to get below 300 by the end of the year. I don't see that happening realistically. Unrealistically, I'm still going to try. But that's my goal, is to get below 300 before the end of the year. I did want to bring up the whole Aiden Ross. Yeah, Aiden Ross. And the guys dropping the bag. That whole situation seems odd to me. One is they had a prime opportunity and they blew it. But also, I started erring on the side of, what if this is all a hoax? What if this was one big publicity stunt? And it worked. Everyone was talking, even I was talking about it. It's like, how are you going to mess that up? So, you never know. It could have been one big publicity stunt. And a lot of people like, I never heard of these people. Now they're checking them out, looking at their streams, and they're getting a lot more press. So, it worked. But yeah, it's social media, so there's a good chance that it is a publicity stunt. So don't be fooled if it all comes out that none of this was real. And one thing I gotta talk about is the fact that I'm broke, and life sucks when you're broke. And I've been trying to think of ways to come up with money. I've thought about doing a scam, but I would get caught in a heartbeat. And I'm not rich and white, so I would probably get the book thrown at me. But I also thought about people who fall for cults. They end up signing everything over to a cult. It's like, how do these cults end up with like 10,000 strong, 100,000 strong? It's like, what did you do to convince these people to fall for this? And it's weird when I hear about these. Even religion to me is like that, but these cults who pull this off with the most obscure thing is like, like a lot of them, like aliens are coming to take us away, or we're going to ascend to the heavens, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Yeah. And like Jim Jones was a cult. He had a cult. I don't remember the name of the cult, and he got everyone to drink the Kool-Aid, and that's where that whole thing comes from, drinking the Kool-Aid. It used to be they used to think that people didn't know the Kool-Aid was spiked, but a lot of them now think they knew the Kool-Aid was spiked, and they didn't care because that was their leader, and he told them to drink it, so they drank it. It's like, yeah, I don't have the mentality to be part of a cult. I would be questioning everything. But do I have the mentality to start a cult? And what kind of cult would I start? Would I start one of those cults where like all the women have to sleep with me? That's another thing with some of those cults. They make all the women, well, I should say all the females sleep with the leader. And it's like, what do you mean by all the females? And it's like, there was one guy who's a leader. The cult's still around, but I think the leader's in prison. And I think it was one of those Mormon cults. And he's in prison, but the cult still exists. And he would sleep with the children. And he wanted to be the first to make them a woman. It was like, when I would hear that stuff, it's like, and these people would let him do this to their children. It's like, where's your motherly instinct? Where's your fatherly instincts? And some of them snapped out. Some of them did snap out of it. Some of the little girls also snapped out of it and was able to get out of the cult themselves. Unfortunately for some of them, it was after the fact all that happened. It's like they knew this wasn't right. And I think there was one where a girl got a chance to get away, and she ran away when she was a teenager, and she didn't know where to do, where to go. She didn't know any of her family because her parents kept her cut off from everyone. But yeah, cults are strange. Every time I hear about these cults, it's like, how are they doing this? How are they conning these people? And to make matters worse, a lot of these cult leaders actually don't believe what they're saying. Now, there are some who truly believe what they're saying, but a lot of them don't. They did it for the power. They wanted to have power over someone, and that's how the cult got formed. Now, in some cases, these cults start off as a person trying to get power over someone, and they basically fall under their own spell, believing their own hype. And you can be anyone who falls for this stuff. Celebrities fall for cults all the time, unfortunately. They're human like everyone else. It's just we get to find out about it. And it was that one girl from Smallville. She was part of a cult, ended up going to prison. And people call Scientology a cult. And when I hear the things you got to do for Scientology, it's like, nah, I'm good. That one is definitely geared towards people want money. So you can't tell me that's a religion for everyone. But yeah, you can create any religion you want, actually, as long as you get some followers. And so, yeah, I thought about how could I create my own cult and get people to send me money? And what would I have to do, to convince them that, hey, I'm the next coming of something. Send me money. That's another thing. At least in America, in some countries, I won't say all countries, but some countries, it's rare that the cult leader is black. And it's rare that a lot of the members of these cults are black too. They're usually other races like Asian or white, and, Asian and white. And when I say Asian, I don't just mean like Chinese and Japanese. I mean the whole Asian diaspora. And I think that's interesting. The reason I say you never see a black person is that I said most times you don't see a black person. But there are black people in these cults, and there are some black cult leaders. But in America, you're more likely to see a white cult leader. But I mean, Japan has cults too. So that's why I was like, a lot of times when you hear about these cults, it's usually a non-black person leading these cults. And I always found that interesting. Is like, is it that black people aren't that concerned with this sort of thing? Is it that we're like, no, we're good and we move on? I just found that interesting. But I seriously was just like, part of me was like, how do I become a con artist? How do I start a cult and get people legally get them to sign everything over to me? Like, I don't promise them anything, but somehow convince them with something and get them to legally sign everything over to me. I could use some money right now. But yeah, how do people pull that stuff off? One of the things also I wanted to work on is I'll come up with subjects, but also blow through them really quickly. And sometimes there's not much to talk about with the subjects, so I do blow through them. But other times I want to expand on it, but for some reason I end up going nowhere with it, and I don't expand on it. Like the cult thing, I did expand on that, talked about that. But one thing I do want to talk about is being famous. I was watching a YouTuber, Aki Dearest, and she did a story on idols over there. Like, I remember hearing about one story where she was talking about a weather girl. She was just a weather girl. She did the weather, or weather person, I don't know if they call her a weather girl or not, but she just did the weather. And all of a sudden, people were angry at her when they discovered she was in a relationship or married or something. It's like, are you kidding me? And over there in Japan, the fandom is psychotic. There's no other way to put it. If you're an idol, the idol fandom over there is nuts. And it's actually not just Japan. I've noticed it's in Korea too. Idols in Korea, China, and Japan, those seem to be the three worst. Where you're not allowed to be in a relationship. You have to be forever single. You can't do anything human, basically. And there are a couple idols who are refusing to do that now. And the companies allow the fans to be this way because they want the money. They don't care about the idol's safety. I would love the opportunity to go in and start my own idol group and do it completely different. I would have bodyguards for my idols. I'd be like, there would be no fan meet and greets. My idols are allowed to date. You don't have to hide it. I would openly try and challenge the culture in all those areas and be like, no, this is how this is going to work. And because they go nuts and they'll try to hurt you. They'll harass you online. And it's not just one person either. It's like the whole fandom is like that. It's like, if you have fans and you're what they call an idol, your fans are most likely going to be toxic and dangerous. And you don't get any bodyguards. You're on your own. If you want bodyguards, you got to hire your own security. The companies don't care. And a lot of those idols actually can't afford to hire anyone because they really don't get paid. They might be famous, but a lot of them are broke. They don't get any of that money. And that's something else that needs to change over there in those countries with that stuff. Now, with that said, in America created the blueprint for that. I mean, they still do that here where artists can look like they have all this money, but reality be broke. So that's something even American artists can need to watch out to. Now, one difference is American artists will turn around and sue, and sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. So, but in Japan and those countries, even if they sue, a lot of times they lose. And it's like, well, you signed a contract. It's like, but, and that's the reason is those idols have a lot of the idols, not the idols, but the management teams, companies behind the idols, they have all the power, and no one wants to challenge them. So I think that's the thing. You need to challenge them. Someone needs to challenge them and take them down. But yeah, it's crazy how that is. But I don't think I want to be famous. I think I just want the money that goes with the fame. I want the money more than the fame. If I could get the money without being famous, that'd be awesome. And I know there's other ways to make money, but I don't want necessarily the fame, but I would love to have the money. Because every now and again, sure, it'd be nice to be recognized when you're walking down the street, but every single day, no, thank you. I'm good. Like if my YouTube channel blew up, I don't think most people where I live would even know I was doing it. Most of them don't know I'm doing it, so I don't have that problem. But yeah, being famous, that is something. You know, even in America, you got to be careful. At least in America, well, no, even in America, fans are psychotic because even though the celebrities are more likely to date, it's just if you date someone the fans don't like, they will let you know. In a lot of cases, they'll make up rumors about the person you're dating. And if you're dating someone they actually like and then you guys break up, if they're a fan of yours, that other person must have done something wrong and they'll just tear that person apart for no reason. So those are the downside of that. I did want to talk about Wonka. That was something I wanted to talk about. We went and saw Wonka. Me and my son had a father-son day, and we went and saw Wonka. It was something he wanted to see, and I didn't pay attention to the ads for Wonka. I didn't realize it was more musical. I'm not a fan of musicals, but I did enjoy it mainly because I was with my son, and we had a blast. And that movie was interesting. They had it that Wonka couldn't read, which I found interesting. It's like, why did they got it that he can't read? But they showed he had to struggle. It was basically like everything he had to do to create Willy Wonka. And I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting backstory. Now, is it something I want to see again? No, I'm good. I don't want to see that movie again. Now, if my family says they want to watch the movie, and it's supposed to be a family movie night, I might have to fake being sick. No, I will sit down and watch it just because of my family. I can enjoy a movie and not want to see it again. And I don't think some people realize that you can watch a movie and not want to see it again. Like, oh yeah, I enjoyed it this time, but it doesn't mean I want to see it again. You know, it's like you can eat something, same as eating something. You can eat it one time, but oh, that was interesting. Oh, you want it again? No, I'm good. It was interesting. Doesn't mean I want to eat it again. And that's what I think of Wonka. It was interesting. I enjoyed it mainly because I was with my son, and it's not a movie I'm looking to see again. My daughter probably would like it. She likes musicals. And the only reason I didn't like it is I'm not a musical. I'm not into musicals. So there's that. But talking about my son, I was also thinking about my dad. Things we used to do. We used to go fishing and stuff. But as I got older, you know, me and my dad weren't as close when we got older. And I was thinking about when families cut out, you know, people they care about. A lot of times people feel guilty for doing that. And I understand why they feel guilty when you have to cut someone out of your life. But you also have to remember why you chose to do that. You can't just, you know, feel guilty and then undo it. Because you need to remember why you did it in the first place. And unless you can prove that that person has truly changed, you shouldn't go back on it. before you decide to undo it, maybe you should talk to someone. Because I do hear about people who will cut someone out of their life and then give them another chance, cut them out of their life again, give them another chance. Like, just stop with the cutting them out, because clearly you can't handle having that person not be in your life, even though that person is hurting you. It's like, it's kind of pointless to cut them out of your life if you're just going to let them keep coming back. Another thing, when you cut someone out of your life, you got to understand that they're mad at you and you're mad at them. And if you cut them out of their, if you cut that person out of your life because they're a manipulator, they're going to manipulate you into feeling bad for what you decided. They're going to make you feel bad for putting you first. And that's something you need to think about. But also with family dynamics is, when I hear about families who have that one relative that, can't be alone with the kids, it's like, why is that relative still around? I think I talked about that before, but it's like, don't have that relative around anymore. Get rid of them. They don't need to be around. And I can honestly say, I don't recall having any relatives like that. People try to talk about, oh, it's common in this, it's common in black families, it's common in this, it's common in Hispanic family, common in this family. No, it's not. It's not common. And the fact that you were brainwashed into thinking that was a common thing in families is messed up on many levels. They literally brainwash you into thinking that it's okay to have that one relative that the kids shouldn't be alone with. It is not normal. It is not common. Please stop thinking that. And then on TikTok, they were talking about, since I'm talking about, common things in black families and stuff, talking about, as a black person, I'm afraid to admit, first off, who came up with that stupid idea? That was a stupid idea. Be blunt about it. Yeah, that was a stupid idea. That was a stupid question. I know they say there's no such thing as stupid question. Yes, there is. There is such thing as stupid questions, and that's a stupid question. The reason I call it a stupid question is already you got people fighting back and forth on it. And it's like, to me, I think the question may have been worded wrong. I'm not sure how to correctly word something like that. And also, people who are upset that black people were speaking out, saying, like there was something to say, I don't want to go to the hood or the ghetto as a black person. Why would you want to, actually? You're supposed to be trying to get out the hood and ghetto. So why are you trying to go in there? Why are you trying to live ghetto fabulous? I am never like ghetto fabulous. I hear people talking ghetto fabulous like, yeah, no, I'm good. That's just you wasting your money. So yeah, you go ahead and live your ghetto fabulous life. So yeah, one of the skits that someone put together is like, if you're someone at a party in the hood and you see someone creeping in, if you don't get up out of there, you're stupid. And here's the problem with that. A lot of people, including black people, don't have that instinct. There are people who grew up in the hood who don't have that instinct to get out of there. Oh, man, you're overreacting, and then everyone's shot up. And so you can't really put that off on not growing up in the hood. There's a lot of people who don't have those instincts to say, danger, Roy Orbison, danger. Show my age again. Yeah, it's like, why do you want to go hang out in the hood? There are black people who didn't grow up in the hood, in the ghettos, who want to go hang out there. It's like, why? There's that basketball player, I forget what his name was. I think I talked about him before, He's trying to live the hood life. It's like, you're a professional basketball player. Leave that life alone. You didn't grow up in that. Leave it alone. Why are you trying to live hood fabulous, ghetto fabulous? It makes no sense. Just stop trying to pretend to be something you're not. And worst case, I can see that ending really badly for him. And I do mean in death, because he's trying to live that hood life for, I don't know why. I don't get black or white people or anyone who tries to live that hood life, especially when they didn't grow up in the hood. People in the hood live the hood life because that's all they know. Some of them can overcome it and get out of there. Some can't. But they live that life. Most of them live that life, not because they want to, but because that's all they know and that's all they got. So when I see people talking about they're going to go live ghetto fabulous and all this stuff and you didn't grow up in that, it makes me want to punch them in the face and like snap out at you being a dumbass. But yeah, I've never got it. I never understood any of that stuff when you want to go do that stuff. I didn't grow up extremely poor, but I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth either. My mom did her best and took care of us and made sure we were all right. And I wouldn't say we didn't ever have to want for anything. I didn't always get what I wanted. She always tried to get things we wanted. My mom did her best, and we lived a good life. And I can't be happier. I had a good mom. And growing up, I didn't realize how broke we were until I got older. And it's like, oh, okay, now I understand. But when I hear people wanting to go live those lives and they didn't grow up in it, it's like, you have no clue what the hell you're talking about. All you see is what's on TV, what's on social media, and you think, oh, I could live that life. That's a great life to live. No, it's not. It's a dangerous life to live. And I will admit, it's a lot of time, it's someone white wanting to live that hood life. It's like, you go right ahead. But when I see black people talking about they want to live the hood life and they didn't grow up in that, you're a dumbass. You should be thankful you didn't grow up in that, because it's not what you think it is. There's a lot going on in there, a lot more than you think. And truth be told, a lot of you wouldn't last very long in those hoods. You get yourself killed being stupid. Basically, you get yourself killed by being you. So, I'm smart enough to know I don't want to hang out there. I don't want to go there, because I have no desire to get shot because someone thought I looked at them funny. And I'm smart enough to understand the culture to the point where I did go meet a girl in the hood. And when I went to pick her up, this guy went over to the car, and I knew what he wanted. And I didn't like wave him off like my hands in the air. I just put my hand down to the side and waved my hand back and forth. Like my hand was hanging down to the side. I'm just like, no, and he caught on and he walked away, and that was that. But that's me. I've been around those people. I didn't grow up in the hood, but I was near the hood. I was like hood adjacent. And I was around them enough to know how to talk to them, how to handle situations around them. And they understood I wasn't about that life. So they left me alone. And that's another thing. TV will make you think, if you let them know you're not about that life, they're going to mess with you every chance they get. It's not true. Most of them will leave you alone. If you leave them alone, as long as you don't cross paths or get in their way, they don't care. Now, as for recruiting kids and stuff like that, I don't know about that. Just from my experience and what I've seen in real life is that most of them don't want anyone who's going to be a liability. They don't want to have to bring someone in who they think will run and tell on them. They don't want that trouble. They want a smooth operation like everyone else. That's why you get someone in the group who's wilding out, they're going to take care of it. And it's like, we need to get rid of that person. So yeah, so you go right ahead and live your ghetto life. I don't want any part of it, so I'm good. But man, I went on a tangent with that. That was some suppressed stuff about the hood life and stuff, because I think it's just a dumbass thing to want to live ghetto fabulous. And with that question of, as a black person, I'm afraid to admit, the reason I think it's a stupid question, because it's not opening dialogue. Let's put it that way. People think it's opening dialogue, and it's not. It's having people fight. So part of me wonders, did someone craft that on purpose to cause infighting? But there's valid reasons for different things. Like, for me, I've never been afraid to admit anything. As a man, if I don't like something, I speak up. If I don't agree with something, I speak up. And I raise my kids to do the same. And I don't know what black families you guys grew up in, but your families did you a disservice by not teaching you that. I grew up in a black family where you were raised to speak your mind. I was around a lot of strong-willed people, and they passed that on to me, and I'm passing it on to my kids. So it's not a black thing to keep your mouth shut and not talk about things going on in the family. That's a family thing. Your family has screwed you over by convincing you that all black families do this. They don't. I hate when I hear all black families do this, and then it's something negative. It's like, I like it when it's something positive. Oh yeah, I can agree with that. But when it's something negative, it's like, no, stop that. You know, it's one thing when it's funny or amusing, but it's another thing when they try to make it seem like every black family has this dark secret, and we don't. It's not true. I think the problem for me is when they use the word every, saying that everyone's like this. That's the same as saying every black person's a criminal. Not every black person's a criminal. Stop saying that. I think that's why it bugs me so much when I see that stuff. But I need to get away from this subject. It's pissing me off. I'll go back to working out. With working out, I talk about eating right and fixing my diet, and I think I'm doing pretty good with that. I need to come up with more meals than just salads, but like I said, I got some good salads, and I've been chowing down on this. My workout, I'm working on that. I actually don't have much more to talk about when it comes to working out. I think I got it all out. I was just trying to get away from that subject. Taxes. There we go. Talk about taxes. Taxes suck. The American tax system is broken. I think we can all agree on that. Left, right, up, down, in the middle. It's rare that I meet someone who says the tax system's perfect. Nah, it's broken. Even rich people complain about taxes. And that's why they got all that money to try to find loopholes on how not to give any of it to the government. Like our taxes, why aren't our taxes done already so we don't have to do this end of year tax thing? We shouldn't even have to do that anymore. With the way technology is, it should just automatically pretty much know, how many kids you got? 2? How many spouses? You both work? And it calculates and it knows, all right, this is how much you get, this is how much goes to the government. And that's that. But no, the reason they still do it this way is because they know people screw up on their taxes, and by the time they realize they screwed up on their taxes, the government's got that money. We got that money, and you don't get it. So it's like that. I do wish there was someone who would stand up and change the tax system. That's like when they also want the money. They always find money to send overseas, but yet there's no money for any programs in the U.S. It's like, how are you finding hundreds of billions of dollars to send overseas, but you can't find that? Where'd you get that money? You said there was no money for free healthcare, no money for education, no money for this, no money for that, but yet you found $100 billion to send overseas. Where'd that money come from? Why couldn't you find that to work here? Why can't you put it towards the tax system? Fix the tax system that's broken. But that's our government. I'll be honest with you. I wish I did have the money to influence the politicians stuff. Maybe I would just buy them all and get them to finally do stuff for the people, But short of doing that, I don't see the government changing anytime. So I think it'll be another 100 years before it changes. And it'll change slightly for the better. Let's put it that way. But hopefully I'm not around when the government finally collapses. I think I talked about that before, but when the government finally collapses, it's going to be bad for America. I see it being really, really bad for America. I can see other countries coming in and seizing land because we won't be able to pay the military. They're going to seize what they can. America is going to be cut in half. America probably won't even exist. It'll be gone. Each state will become its own country. And that could be good or bad. The only downside with each state becoming its own country is the political system that's in power at the time. Your governor could become a dictator like Florida governor is trying to do. But I think it'll be super bad when the government finally collapses. And the worst part is, I think it's going to happen sooner than later for America. every country eventually is going to have it happen. And I know I just said I hate when they say every, but this is something I think it actually applies to. Countries, basically empires, countries, they all eventually collapse through one reason or another. Either another country came and took them over, or just economic, social collapse. And it doesn't mean that country's going to go away. It usually means that a new government has taken power and the way the country's run has definitely changed. As for America, when that happens, I think it's going to be bad. The rich are going to do everything they can to secure power. And there's going to be people trying to rise up and take control. I think some of those movies did get it right with the America collapsing. But I don't know how soon. Well, I feel like it's going to be soon. Hopefully I'm not around when it does happen. I hope it's long after I'm gone that it happens. Hopefully I get another 40 years of life here. But as long as it doesn't happen in that life in the next 40 years. But I can see it happen afterwards. And hopefully I raise my kids well enough to those will be okay. But yeah, I think when the American government collapses, it's going to collapse hard. And I can see other countries coming in trying to take over. I can see Canada swooping in, trying to take over the country. I can see Mexico even coming up and try to grab maybe part of Texas or California, New Mexico, and all those states there. I can see that happening. But yeah, when it comes to taxes, I think it's so weird the way we do taxes, especially when I hear how other countries do it. And like I said, they find billions and billions of dollars to send to other countries, but yet they can't find billions and billions of dollars to fix this country. You know how greedy and broken you have to be to not want to fix the country you're living in because it might hurt your pocketbook, even though you're like a billionaire. It's just pure greed. So let me talk about something positive. Because so far everything I've been talking about has been negative or a downer. My YouTube channel, I'm getting some views. Not a lot of views, but YouTube shorts are definitely working out for me. Every time I post a short, I get at least 20 views anymore, it seems like. So that's doing well. I'm doing the 1 minute stories. Post those when I come up with something and post those. And those are getting a lot of views. And the YouTube channels I review are getting good reviews, or getting views. So that's nice. And so something I've done is taken off. And I am thinking of starting something else. Now the other thing, it's basically it's nothing new. I've seen other people talk about it. I'm just going to do my own version of it. It's basically sci-fi shows I think should be remade. And I'm going to give my reason as to why it should be remade. A lot of them aren't necessarily going to be popular sci-fi shows like Knight Rider was. And I'm even going to talk about Knight Rider, even though it's been remade 3 times now. Yeah, I think it's 3 times. But the reason I want to talk about Knight Rider, I'm going to go over why I think the last remake failed. But yeah, so I think doing this stuff and being active has helped a lot. Just with my mental state and being focused. Like I said, this week, it's been a hard week. But I still felt the need to do the podcast. Not because I felt obligated to do podcasts, but like I said, it helps with my mental state. It helps me with talking. And I stated earlier, I did a completely different podcast where I talked. And that one will never see the light of day. I deleted it. But it did help a lot. It helped me a lot. I'm glad I did it. I wish I didn't have to do it, but I had to do it for my mental state. It made me feel better. Of course, the main reason I wish I didn't have to do it, don't want to lose anyone. I didn't want to lose my dad, even though we didn't really get along anymore. Like I said, even though you may have cut someone off out of your life, doesn't mean you don't love them anymore. I don't wish death or any loved ones. I can't say I don't wish death on people, but especially people you care about. No, I've never wished him any ill will. But yeah, just sitting here and talking when I did that other one helped a lot, and I'm glad I did it. But yeah, doing this podcast has meant a lot to me, actually, more than I realized, and I'm glad I did it. Now, the downside is I did this today, Friday. Now, usually throughout the week, edit it. I can take my time editing, but I got to edit this tomorrow and have it ready to go. So I always post on Sunday. So I might be posting late on Sunday, but I'll get it posted Sunday. So maybe I'll get up early and edit it Saturday because I got to go do some more stuff. So I can get up early and edit it and take care of it. But I am proud of one thing. I did come up with 20 things to talk about. I didn't go over everything I wanted to talk about. I'm going to take all the stuff I didn't talk about and start my new list for the next podcast. And also been posting the YouTube channels I watch every Sunday too. I got the next one recorded, but not edited. So I need to edit it. Oh God, I got 2 things to edit. Wait till last minute on both of them. I started to record the podcast sooner, but I kept putting it off. I'm not sure why I kept putting it off. There was nothing. Well, Monday I was waiting for shits and gigs, and they didn't do the Who Am I? And then Tuesday I worked out, and when I got home I was tired. Wednesday I had the migraine. Thursday night I was going to do it, but that's when I found out about my dad. And today, I know it's the next day after finding out about my dad, but I had to do something to distract me too. So this is my distraction. So maybe that's why, maybe on some level I knew I needed to wait. If you want to go with the spiritual thing. So this is helping me out. One thing I wanted to talk about is my next book. I have finished it. It is shorter. What's funny about that is when I was editing, going over the book, it shrank. It was like 82 pages, and I changed the spacing between the sentences, and it went to half. It was like 42 pages or something. And I thought that was funny. It's like it shrank that much. It's like, oh, I didn't write that much as I thought. But it's a short book. It's a good book. I think it's better than my first book, and I just need to work on it and get the cover for the book, and I think I'll be good to go. I got an idea what I want for the cover now. I figured it out. I just got to put it together, and I think I'll be good to go. I'll get another book published. Then I'll start on my next book. That was something else about books is I had a book that I called The Warehouse, and it was about a private detective named Frank Baker. I finally figured out why I don't want to do the book. It was supposed to be a graphic novel, and it took some doing to admit to myself it's not that good of a book. With the 2 books I just did, those 2 have stayed in my head for as long as I can remember. The one with the detective Frank Baker, it didn't. It doesn't stay in my head. I don't think about it ever. And that's the difference. And there's fan fictions that I've stuck in my head. Those are more interesting. So that's what I'm not going to delete it. I might someday go back and work on it and fix it. But I think I'm going to let it go. I really am going to let that one go and move on to another book I'm going to work on. And it's more like a manga than a comic book or a graphic novel. And if I can get the character, I might use some of the characters from the Frank Baker book, from the Warehouse book, since I already got their front faces drawn, and I'll just reuse them. But yeah, it finally dawned on me, and I realized why. Oh, excuse me. I realized why, and once I realized that, if a story doesn't stick with me, And like the one I put out and the one I just finished, that means I didn't see the whole picture. Even though I had the rough work done and the rough writing done, I still didn't like it. I kept trying to fix it, but that was my first attempt at really to write a story. So maybe I'll go back one day and fix it and get it right. But right now, I think it's time to move on from that one and go ahead and start the other one. I need to write it. I might do rough work with it as well, create rough panels, and just start it and get going on it. So that's what I'm going to start my graphic novel, which will probably take me 2 years. But I'm going to get started on it, and that's going to be my next book. So I may do 2 of them because I did like the just writing it out a lot without having to do the artwork. So I might go ahead and work on another book as well. So I did talk about doing 2 books at once, but now I got it together. I might go ahead and create the cover of the graphic novel one. Because the cover, I don't want to give away what the book's. It's not a revolutionary idea, but it's a take that I haven't seen myself. It probably exists. There's you name something. I'm sure there's an anime about doing podcasts. I'm sure there is. There was an anime about doing animes. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was an anime about doing podcasts. But it is based on anime. And let's see what I can do with it. I think it'll be good. And I think this weekend, because I took today, Monday and Tuesday off. So maybe as a distraction, I'll start working on the new thing. Oh my God. I forgot what I was going to call it. I wasn't going to call it shows that should be remade. I wanted to. Actually, I don't think I really came out with it. I didn't want to just call it sci-fi shows that should be remade. I wanted to actually give it a name. That's why I drew a blank. I didn't give it a name yet. But maybe that's what. Maybe I will just call it that because I can't think of a name for it. Oh, sci-fi shows before their time. There's something like sci-fi shows that were made before their time. I think it was something along that line, though. Sci-fi shows that were ahead of their time. But it's going to be long because I was just thinking sci-fi shows that were ahead of their time that should be remade now. Nah, that's too broad because I could see people already like, what do you mean? It was a crappy show. But you also got to watch the video to find out why I said that. So I think I will just go with sci-fi shows I think should be remade now. And originally I was just going to do the 80s and 90s, but I may go further back too, just look and see. Because most of the shows I picked, I would say probably all the shows I picked are shows I watched. And I'm having to decide if I'm going to do a separate one. Because I also put in there sci-fi cartoons I think should be remade. And there's a lot of obscure ones that I remember watching. And some I vaguely remember watching that I put in there as well. So I'll have 2 new channels going. So, man, I'm going to be doing a lot. I want to hopefully I can pull this off. But those 2, I'll be posting when I get them done. It's like, as soon as I get it done, I'll post it. The only 2 that are on schedule is the YouTube channels I watch, and the podcast. Those have a regular schedule. The main reason I decided not to do a regular schedule with the other stuff, because I found it too hard to get it done on a regular schedule, and I won't be posting as often with those. So, my main focus was just to do the podcast, but I found I'm doing other stuff too. So we'll see what happens. So hopefully I can keep it together. I think I want to cut it here. I'm going to wrap it up here. But I did want to say one thing is, bye, Daddy. I'm going to miss you. I wish we could have ended on a better note. And I still love you. And for anyone who's going through grief, just remember you're not alone. There's others going through it as well. If this helped out in any way, I'm glad you found it, and I'm glad it helped you. To everyone who's watching, thank you for watching. You guys take care.